Hey everybody, this is Nels Danielson checking in. Today we're going to be taking a look at my CIT 260 individual presentation. We'll be going over some of the code for my team's game and breaking a few things down. So we'll be starting off here in our playercontrol.java, where we will first look at the difference between a static class variable and instance variables. So the main difference between static class variables and non-static instance variables is that static class variables, once they're set, they'll stay the same throughout your entire program. So these babies, they're not going anywhere. For non-static instance variables, they live and die within their scope and can't be referenced from a static context. So these here will only live within the calc energy travel cost. Next, we're going to be moving over to the map control, where we'll take a look at our enumeration and our multi-dimensional array. So we use an enumerator to set up the objects in our scene type class, since there won't be any more of these objects added, and none of them will be changed. We used the multi-dimensional array to assign each of the locations on our map, all 25 of them, to have one of the scene types assigned to it each that we previously set up in our scene type enumerator. Next we're going to pop over into location.java and take a look at our array list, which we have set up here. We use an array list to get and set the actors used in each location. We originally had plans for the actors in each scene to potentially change every time the player moved to a new location, but that wasn't something we were able to see all the way through just yet. So next, we're going to take a look over in our inventory control.java class. So none of the code that I have written that's currently pushed to our GitHub has any basic for statements or for loops. But I went ahead and wrote one out that would be the equivalent to the one that I have pushed right now. So this is the one you'll see if you look at our GitHub code, and this is the one that I just wrote out. That's basically the equivalent of it. So if in our for loop, have it set up to have our index originally equals 0, it'll count until it reaches whatever the amounts dot length is. So whatever its full length is, as long as it stays below that, it'll keep counting. It goes up by 1 each time. So it'll count on through and set total to be equal to amount as it increases, which total was declared up here and will be returned down here. Jumping over into inventory menu view, we'll take a look at how we throw, propagate, and catch custom runtime errors in our program. And here we see in my calc total items class that I tried to run this code here, and if it succeeds, great, it'll do its thing. But if not, the catch will spring on up, and it'll take a look at inventory control exception and then throw out whatever message corresponds to the error. And back over in player control, we take a look at calc food energy. All of these if statements, if any of them get triggered, any of those will throw a new exception, which takes a look at player control exception and throws out a custom error for any one of these issues. Now over here in game control, where we do our saving of our game and for reports, we'll take a look at when and why character stream class should be used versus a byte stream class to read and write data to a file. So a character stream is used when we're saving a file as a text file, that can be read by humans whenever it's opened. So traditional text file. Whereas a byte stream is used simply to store raw data, which is what we would use here in our save state to save the actual state of the game. And over here in game menu view, we see the print inventory report function, which will prompt the user to get the name of the extension for where they want to save their file, and they'll save that as a string. And it'll then create a new instance of display inventory view, and then it will try to call the save report function of the game control class, which it, over here, creates a new instance of the print writer, which calls the display function of report, which is found here in the report interface, which ultimately ends up looking back over here at the display inventory view, and then the writer will take everything that's been written here, and anywhere that there's been print lines and text formatted, it gets saved to the file at the file path that the user set up in the very beginning, back up here. And with all that said, let's take a look at the game. So we got our standard intro, put in our name, new game, and from here we've got a pretty big list of things we can do. We are able to take a look at whatever is on our inventory. We display tools, work on raft, collect resources, and the list goes on. Unfortunately, not all of these are fully implemented, but we got everything that we were able to in the time that we had. So our player is able to move to different locations across the map, north, south, east, and west. And we start in the top left-hand corner. So if we try to move west from here, we get an error. It says player cannot move to location 0, 1, because the location is outside the bounds of the map. And then back here at the game menu, once again, we can bring up the map itself, hitting L, which prints it to a grid, which Alejandro made up for us. It looks pretty good. Which is broken down into different labels for the map. So the entirety of the east side over here, or sorry, the west side, is all beachfront, and it moves on and gets more varied throughout. And the player is able to move freely so long as it doesn't hit the bounds, in which we'll get an error and then have to move back. And back at the menu again, we can bring up the inventory that we have, which currently nothing in stock, nothing's been collected. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get far enough to be able to collect things just yet, but we do have a list implemented, and from the menu down here, we're able to print out the same list and save that to a text file, which is the one we looked at earlier from game menu view. So here, if we do IR, prompts us for the file path. Let's say inventory report .txt. Success. And it does save the file and does open up just fine in Notepad for all three of our reports, for inventory, print island report, and the map report, or sorry, raft report. Now we can go back menu, go back one more, and we can press S to save the game. enter the name of the file path, call it game 1. And there we go. From there we can quit on out, and all works just as intended. I really wish we could have gotten a little bit further than what we did in the game. I really enjoyed working with the team that I had. Chris Newland and Alejandro were fantastic to work with. Really enjoyed my time spent with those guys. I've never actually been disappointed to end a group work before, but I honestly was this time. They're a really good couple of guys. Really appreciate your time. Thanks for giving this a watch, and maybe I'll get a chance to work with you again in the future. Thanks.